We're like a week into Joe Biden's ability to broadcast his thoughts to the internet and to TV, and he's still finessing his coronavirus message, but I would say that at this point, I would still rate it as puddin' soft. Take a look at this answer to a question from Chuck Todd.
You know, your campaign put out in a critique of President Trump and says if he doesn't do these things, you know, he could cost lives. Do you think there is blood on the president's hands, considering the slow response? Or is that too harsh of a criticism?
I think that's a little too harsh. I think what's happening is the failure to, as I watched a prelim to your show where someone said that, used the phrase that the president just thinks out loud. He should stop thinking out loud and start thinking deeply. He should start listening to the scientists before he speaks. He should listen to the health experts. He should listen to his economists.
Okay, so asked there if Trump already has blood on his hands, he says, no, that's a little too strong. I just think he should stop, thinking out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Chuck Todd gave him an out on that, and it was like, I think whenever you suggest something to Biden, he's probably going to say that exact thing. I think there was a way to say yes, that there is blood on his hands. It is a strong way to phrase something, but I think it's true, given what the experts are saying. Just no one has the ability and the audacity to say that directly. But if he's going to be the Democratic nominee and he's going to try and defeat Trump, he better say it, right? Like he's our guy, supposedly. Yeah. So he's talking like he is, Trump's like old friend and confidant. Like, man, I just think he's gotta, just change his message a little bit. Like, that's not your role right now, Biden. Your role is to attack, and reveal and expose exactly what we're all seeing before our eyes, make us feel like we're not crazy for knowing that this is a completely incompetent president.
Yeah, I feel like I get it. He's just worried, that it'll be politicizing this if you acknowledge his faults. But I would say, like, if I was Joe Biden, I would say, look, I, like every American, Democrat, Independent, or Republican, want Donald Trump to knock this thing out of the park because American lives are on the line. But I'm not going to pretend that he's done things that he hasn't. In the past, he dragged his heels, and that certainly made things worse. Today, he is going to bungle this thing by not advising more states to do a multi-week or multi-month lockdown that all the experts say that they should. And, I have every reason to believe that based on his proclivities, he's going to continue to bungle this thing in the future. We want him to do well, but he is failing the American people. Thankfully, there are some good mayors, there are some good governors that are helping to fill in the cracks of his horrendous response. And as president, I'm going to do far better for reasons X, Y. Like, whatever. You got to provide something. Right now, 60% of the American people think that his response has been good. They are wrong. They're 100% wrong. And Joe Biden is basically saying, that territory, I am ceding that to Donald Trump. I am not going to question him. I'm going to put less pressure on him than Yamiche just did in the press conference.
Yes,
well, then
absolutely.
Let's have Yamiche be the candidate. At least she'll fight back.
I also don't feel like Biden is conveying a lot of like urgency and concern. And he doesn't seem like he's chomping at the bit to like get in the ring here, or like, to take the reins or whatever the metaphor is. But like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to be president ostensibly in your mind. Like, yeah, this is a horrible time to take the reins of presidency, but like, it's got to weigh on you just how horribly crass and bungled this president is doing with the pandemic. So like, I don't feel that urgency from him. And that's very scary. I mean, this is the reason why you're hearing people, and I know you've talked about it, just float Cuomo's name out of nowhere. Like, when you hear Cuomo's name being floated, it's because even establishment and centrist Democrats are worried about Joe Biden. That's it.
This is how they express it. This is the way that they're comfortable expressing it.
Yes. Of course, it's not Bernie Sanders, who's been doing, live streams every single night, who's been talking to Congress people, who's been, going, day one was going in front of the media. which rarely gets passed on to, mainstream news outlets. But like, no, he's out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, yeah, and look at Bernie's messaging around that recovery bill, like acknowledging the need to provide aid to workers, acknowledging all the ways that it falls short for those individuals, and pointing out the obvious issues baked into that slush fund. Joe Biden, I mean, he's kind of okay with it, I guess. Like, I don't know if he has criticisms. They're not well articulated, and they're certainly not strong.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
No, I was just
go
going to say,
ahead.
like, you can't. You're trying to take down an incumbent president during a crisis that he is doing everything he can, and state media is doing everything they can to wrap around him in flag form. You can't win that by just coming out and seeming a little bit reasonable and maybe holding it together for a 2 to 5 minute interview, like best case scenario. I don't know. Maybe there's 46% of the country that just desperately wants to go back to normal, whatever that is, and Trump's only got 44%. Maybe that's just baked into all of this, and at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. But in terms of his ability to influence the race, he is doing effectively nothing. He seems... I wouldn't... If this was how interested a person appeared to be to, like, work for me as a producer, I would never hire them. Why would you give someone the presidency when he seems so disinterested in holding the position or fighting for the position?
Absolutely. I mean, his points aren't bad. Yeah, we need to be thoughtful about how money actually gets into the hands of the American people. I think that is a good point. It's not presidential, though. It's not the point. It's not the counterpoint to what Trump's putting out there. And yeah, you're absolutely right.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.